Powered by Riverside.
Welcome back to the Movement for Life podcast. My name is Kolby and this podcast is where we talk about ways to keep us moving throughout our lives. In today's episode, we are going to do a quick little dive on what are the other areas that impact whether or not I'm able to move throughout my life. We typically are focusing on something fitnessy related, and this is what I'd consider a fitness adjacent today. So before we get into our episode, I always start these with ways that I moved in this past week. And for me, in the past week, I did 3 days of CrossFit in a row. Friday was a full day of CrossFit training, where I got to do a 2-hour CrossFit session, which was fantastic, very long. Then I got to do a session Saturday morning. I also got to swim in the pool on Saturday as well. And then Sunday, I got to do some workouts on the beach. Normally I'm doing that because of lifeguarding, but this month, Oxnard Movement is hosting our Sundays on the sand. So we got to work out with all of our gym friends in Ventura Harbor Cove on the beach, and our workout included some push-ups on the sand, some thrusters on the sand, and some swimming. So that was totally fun. And then I got to do a little bit of surfing earlier this week while I was lifeguarding as well. So very full week of activity. My Garmin says I have been low on my battery the last couple of days because of all of that movement. Typically when I'm doing my lifeguarding as well, I'm hitting between 10 and 20,000 steps for walking, in addition to any exercise that I've been doing. So there it is. Let's just jump right into this topic. This is a topic that I've talked about in the past in several different capacities, but have yet to solidify and have a conversation about them directly, or about this directly, or even come up with some sort of presentation. So we're kind of just going on the fly a little bit today, and I want to be able to have this conversation with you guys. Again, if you aren't already subscribed to the YouTube channel, to the podcast, please subscribe to us. Click that notification bell. We want to see you on a weekly basis. I'm giving out free information on a weekly basis. We want you to be able to get that information, share it with your friends, use it however you'd like. I'd also like to interact with you. This is an amazing space for you, or opportunity for you, to pick my brain about anything that you would like. Usually that's reserved for our members here in the gym, but leaving comments on our YouTube or sending an email to Kolby@oxnardmovement.com, I am more than happy to answer your health and fitness related questions. My goal is just to help as many people as I can possibly help get healthier and happier throughout their life. So don't forget to do that. Rating us is also zero cost, and it helps other people get to see this podcast down the road. So normally we talk about one of these 7 different pieces, and I'm going to call them the 7 F's. So I've done a little bit of thinking about these, and only one of them has to do with working out, and that is fitness. Fitness is our first F. And we're going to leave that one out of the discussion today. You guys have all heard a lot of my opinions on fitness, how I think you should approach it. If the one thing that you could do is only the one thing that you could do, how should you do it? CrossFit versus running versus country club sports versus anything else as far as fitness is concerned. But let's talk about the second one, which is the probably second most talked about topic, which is food. We talk about food. If we want to be healthy, we have to have some competency in these 7 different F's. So let me just overview these 7 different ones. We start with fitness, then food, then friends and family, then fun, then finances, then fatigue, and finally faith. Those are the 7 F's of health, in my opinion. So if we want to live a healthy, happy life, we have to have some sort of competence in each of these different areas. If we're lacking competence in one of these areas, our life is probably not feeling as fulfilled as it could be. There is also no kind of particular order as far as, hey, if you want your health to be optimal, this is the ordered list from most important to least important. You can kind of think of these as a circle or a wheel instead of like a hierarchy of like most important, next important, next important, because they're all, in my opinion, equally important in the realm of, hey, overall fulfillment, overall health, overall wellness as well. So we talk about a lot about fitness. We talk a lot about food. The other ones, I just want to do like a brief 10,000 foot view of each of these other categories and like, what do I mean by them? And then maybe one day in each of these episodes, I will do kind of a deeper dive of what it looks like to potentially be optimal in each of these different areas. So the first one that I'll do an overview on is finances. I think finances are something that you have to be competent in if you want to be living a healthy and a fulfilling life. What does it mean to be competent in finances? For me, it means a couple of different things. First thing, I think that budgeting has to be something that you know how to do and have practiced or currently practice. I think setting a budget for yourself or not setting a budget for yourself ends up having you leave a lot of room on the table for fulfillment and overall health as well. I'm not going to go super deep in what that means, but creating a budget definitely helps us do that. The other thing with that is doing financial planning. Financial planning is outside of just a month to month base budget. Even if you're talking about a week to week budget, maybe financial planning is creating some sort of vision for the long-term success of you and or your family. And whether that means just you solo, or whether that means you and a spouse, whether that means you and a spouse and kids, a legacy that you live, financial planning, I think, plays a large role in that. So those are the two kind of really big things that I would say are important when it comes to finances and overall fulfillment / health. The next one that we're talking about is friends and family. This is one that may be hard to prescribe a more objective metrics to, but the more important part of this is what I would call relationships. we as humans are relational beings, meaning we want to belong to communities. We are supposed to, we are programmed as humans to work in collaboration with other humans. The a big part of that is friends and family. That is a large portion of the humans that we collaborate with, right? The friends are chosen. The family, maybe not so much. We don't get to choose who our family is, but arguably those might have equal weight when it comes to your relationships. And sometimes, I don't think there's a right way and a wrong way, but there are sometimes that people weigh their family way heavier than they weigh their relationships with their family, way heavier than they weigh their relationships with their friends. And there may be opposite of that as well. There may be people who weigh relationships with their friends well above relationships with their family. But I think that both of those can be important for fulfillment in your life. We're talking about fulfillment in your life and overall health as well. Friends and family allow opportunities for connection. And when humans are in connection, we generally feel more fulfilled and more healthy as well. So as far as metrics go, this is kind of a difficult one to put objective metrics on. But I would say maybe two things that you can use as objective metrics is if you're in a relationship with a spouse or if you have a family, talking about something like date nights or family dinners. I think that's a good objective measurement of, hey, am I putting time, energy, and effort into relationships? So, date nights or family dinners. Now, with friends, um, we have a number of friends, but I think a good objective measurement for, hey, am I, you know, um, spending time and energy in friends' relationships? I would say a good metric to measure would be social gatherings. And social gatherings can mean a bunch of different things. Gatherings could mean you invite people to your dwelling or house. It could mean you go to somebody else's dwelling or house, or it could mean you guys could do something out. A social gathering just meaning a group of two or more people doing something together. So those are two metrics, friends and family, for friends and family. The next one on my list is fun. I think this is an extremely important one for fulfillment and health, and potentially is one that is overlooked. I also like to use the word play. Play has a massive impact in our lives as well. I'm actually going to read you the definition of play. Play has been one of my favorite words for a long, long time. Definition. So the Webster dictionary is engaged in an activity for enjoyment and recreation rather than a serious or practical purpose. I think that this helps us realize that life is, I don't know if terminal is the right word, but it is not forever. And if our life is void of enjoyment for no other purpose of enjoyment, it ends up looking a lot bleaker than it could look. So some metrics for fun. I also think that it is a lot. Man, there's a lot of different metrics for fun or slash play that we can look at. But I would say activities that are engaged in that are outside of work purposes. Work purposes, yes, your work may be fun, but there is also a serious slash practical purpose of work. So if there's other things outside of work, or if you do not need work to pay bills, then work can then become something that is fun slash done for enjoyment only. I think pursuing fun in your life helps all of us find a heck of a lot more enjoyment, and also potentially score a little higher on our health overall as well. I don't know anybody who's who is opposed to more fun in their life. Yeah, there may be people who say, I don't have opportunities for it. I don't have time for it. I have too many other things going on. Those are the people that I might argue score pretty low, and their overall life fulfillment and health could be improved by focusing more on that sort of thing. So the next one I'm going to talk about is fatigue. Fatigue. So if you can't see the pattern here, they're all F's. I'm using the words with F. I like the alliteration of F's. And fatigue, we could also use potentially a couple of different words. One of those words is sleep, right? Fatigue slash sleep. Fatigue, sleep affects our fatigue. The other word that falls under the category of fatigue would be mental health. I think that both of those things have massive contributions to overall life fulfillment and overall health as well. So when we're talking about fatigue, we're looking at, hey, how much am I sleeping on a regular basis? And how much have I put into my mental health? And mental health, the beautiful thing about mental health is it could mean, hey, I'm focusing on some of these other categories that are in the 7 F's for fulfillment and for health. Or it could be, hey, I'm focusing on processing situations that have happened in the past that are taking up space in my brain. A lot of times we focus heavy on the physical for health, and we forget the mental on health. So I think some important things to think about is, hey, can I track some of my sleep? That is an easy metric to measure. As far as fatigue goes, the other metric that we can measure for mental health. This is, some people love this practice. Other people could never get behind it. I think it's potentially useful for a time, and it's for others like, hey, if you started something like this, it may be a lifelong journey for it, but something like journaling for mental health. Journaling, when I talk about journaling, I think specifically I'm talking about reflection on life. I think reflecting has a massive potential for positive benefits in our life, for both fulfillment and for overall health, which is what we're talking about here. So when we're talking about metrics, big 10,000 foot view metrics for fatigue, we're looking at number of hours slept and looking at journaling or reflecting. That can get much deeper. That could look like My mental health is significantly better when I get my finances budgeted. My mental health could be significantly better if I go see a therapist. My mental health could be better if I choose to spend one day a week with friends, right? So that mental health doesn't always have to look like journaling, but I think that journaling and reflecting helps us see, hey, where do I feel like I'm lacking in my mental health? The last one here is faith. And this is an interesting one. And it is one that I think contributes to all of our fulfillment and overall well-being / health as well. And faith doesn't have to be religion. It for sure can be, but it doesn't have to be any one religion. What I mean by faith is the belief or commitment in something greater than myself. Let me say that one more time. I think faith in the context of fulfillment and in health means belief in belief or commitment in something that is greater than myself. This can look a lot different for a lot of different people. Probably most often you think you're going to think of religion, right? Thinking of something like, hey, God is the thing that is greater than myself, and I'm committed or have faith in God as somebody that has more control that is greater than myself. That doesn't necessarily have to be religion. That could mean you believe in the universe or karma, something that is greater than yourself that you can put your faith in, or it could potentially even mean like a cause. Let's say my work is maybe this is a good example. Maybe my work is helping other people get the most out of their life, find fulfillment, and find enrichment in their life. That's committing to something that's greater than your own life. Committing or believing in something that's greater than your own life. I think that when we can do that as humans, taking ourselves away from the center of the universe, we can skyrocket on the scale or the pie chart for fulfillment and overall health as well. Those are the 7 different things that we talk about when we're talking about, well, when I say we, this is me. I haven't necessarily heard anybody else talk about these. I've heard a bunch of different variations of what it looks like as far as overall health and wellness goes. This is what I've come up with for my 7 F's of health and fulfillment. I don't know why we stuck on the F's, but I think it went really, really well. I think this would be a really fun conversation to do a podcast on each one of these topics, right? We've already said that in this podcast, the Movement for Life podcast, we've talked a lot about fitness. We've talked a lot about food. We haven't necessarily talked a lot about finances, friends and family, fun, fatigue, and faith. So maybe in the future, I can have some really fun conversations with you guys about each of these different topics. If there is additional topics that you would love to hear me discuss or talk about, shoot me an email to kolby@oxnardmovement.com. I would love to have that conversation or share my thoughts and perspective on a topic that maybe you're struggling with. If there are other things inside that finances, friends, family, fun, fatigue, or faith that you'd particularly like me to hit, again, shoot me an email, shoot me a DM. I'd love to deep dive into one of those and have a 25-minute conversation about one of those things. I'm super passionate. I will say for myself, I did a health assessment with Coach JR. This was a self-assessment several weeks ago on the podcast. That health assessment was a brief variation of this wheel, per se, of fulfillment and health. That was more for maybe just our, I guess it was a health assessment, but this is I would say, a more comprehensive pie chart. The areas that I am probably strongest is fitness. I would say fitness and fun are my two areas that I am strongest. I am moderate on finances, friends and family, and faith. And I am probably the worst at fatigue. If you remember my health assessment, I also scored lowest on the sleep. So fatigue not only includes sleep, but also includes other mental health stuff as well. That is probably my lowest scoring. So maybe I come up with some sort of chart for you to understand these a little bit better for yourself, and then some strategies that you can maybe increase your score in each of those different areas. Thanks for listening to the Movement for Life podcast. We love having you. Check us out on YouTube. Check us out on Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you listen to your podcasts. Until next time, stay moving, stay active. Happy Thursday.